Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today, we are going to take a look at both a very large concept and a very small moment in the series Kaiju number 8. Now, the concept is this. It's, of course, bigger than Kaiju number 8 and not limited even to manga. All storytelling. A really, really good story makes every single scene do at least 3 things. It's one of the most basic principles of great storytelling. If you're going to write a good story, you can't have throwaway bits that when you take them out contribute nothing else to the story other than that one brief thing they added in the moment. An example would be a joke that makes people laugh but doesn't come back to do anything. The example from the other angle, as it were, is Chekhov's gun. If there is a gun mentioned in the first act, it must be fired by the end of the second act. If you bring only that which matters should be brought into a story. This is one of the primary differences between stories and real life. So, where am I going with this? Now, as you start a story or a manga, when you read the initial chapters, certain things happen and you laugh at them or cry at them or go, that's weird. But then you move on because you don't really know what kind of story the manga is going to be yet. When Kaiju number 8 started, there was every indication that it was just going to be kind of a slapstick comedy. And while there is a lot of, and not just something, everything is doing at least 3 things in this story. Now, that brings me to my main point of this little recording. This overanalysis. That weird scene back in the first chapter, the very first chapter, right after Kafka's transformed, he and Reno have escaped from the hospital. They're charging down the street and they're about to duck. They're trying to find somewhere to hide. And Kafka says, I've got to go pee. Or something to that effect. So, and Reno's like, man, hold it in. It's just this really humorous little interaction. And then Kafka's like, oh no, where would it even come out? There's nothing down there. And you think at first I thought that this was just showing how strange and new his body was. But you see, one of the things that is also not unique to this manga, but sets it apart from other shonen manga, is how few panels there are. There are a relatively few pages and relatively few panels per page. So the artist, the creator, knows they can't waste panels on extraneous things. And there was, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4 different panels for the setup to that joke. And then there's the fallout from that joke. So I think that was 2 or 3, maybe even 4 pages that were not wasted, that were spent on this joke about Kafka, urinating from his nipples in his kaiju form. Now, that's looking back from the perspective of seeing how good these creators are at making every single scene pay off, and at how one of the defining elements of this manga is how there are so few panels. That had to have been something more than just a throwaway joke that showed how Kaiju number 8's bodies works. And I can't see what it is at this point, and I just find that fascinating. That was chapter 1. We are 36 chapters into the manga at this point, and that still appears just to be a throwaway joke. It hasn't come back to haunt us in any way, shape, or form. We haven't seen Kafka have to void his bladder as Kaiju number 8 again. We haven't seen him have to, do number 2 in the body either. In fact, other than seeing him eat all kaiju'd out at the beginning of chapter 2, we've actually seen very little of Kaiju number 8's bodily functions, primarily because Kafka keeps Kaiju number 8 hidden inside, but also even when he's out there fighting, doing his best, we do see his internal fluids. He bled when he punched that Yoju bomb. So the series is not ignoring the fact that Kaiju number 8 is a physical body that has physical needs. His arms were destroyed. There are consequences. His spine broke with a loud crack when Kaiju number 8 twisted around to counterattack Director Shinomiya in chapter 36. These creators are still paying very close attention to the bodily needs of Kaiju number 8, but they've never circled back to that initial important chapter 1 joke. Now, again, during the first few chapters, I was content to think of it as a rather humorous one-off joke, a bit of kaiju realism, because addressing a feature of kaiju bodies that just really doesn't get addressed all that much. So, where do their waste products go? But again, they spent 2 pages, that's 11 whole panels, more than 2 pages, directly dealing with this in chapter 2. And they spent 3 stages kind of dealing with it in the whole. This was a huge chunk of the second chapter. So what is the meaning of this? Why is it so important that we as the audience know that after Kaiju number 8 eats something, it has to void its bladder? Because remember, this was just after it ate that crow alive. Okay, so some of my theories: perhaps Kaiju number 8 is sensitive to toxicity buildup. Maybe there was something in that crow that it ate that it couldn't process properly, so it had to get rid of it. Maybe it was something about the transformation process, going from really big to really small. It had to void waste products. But I really think that this is a plot point that's going to circle back, and we're going to see it again. I do not think that the creator would have wasted 2 full pages in the second chapter just on a throwaway slapstick bodily fluids joke. So those are my 2 cents on a completely silly little aspect of this story. What do you think? How do you think we're going to see this element again when we do see it? While you're pondering that, you can check out the links below the video to get my book, Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, a book of human absurdity, where there are many slapstick bodily fluid jokes, which I hope I've tied into at least 2 things, if not the goal, then do 3 things. Now, if you want something to cry over, you can check out Dying Embers, Dragons, Aliens, and Things That Go Boom in the Night. Peace out, my wonderful viewers.
The book from author Betty Adams, Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, is a humorous look at human behavior through the eyes of aliens. This book is arranged in separate reports or essays, documenting the experiences with humanity through the lens of the aliens who have to interact with them. This anthology of short stories and vignettes from alien points of view highlights some of humanity's quirks we can all relate to. Author Betty Adams captures how strange and interesting humans can really be. This is a fun collection of stories you will really get a kick out of. Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, from author Betty Adams. Order your copy right now on Amazon.